Hello everybody, it is me, Ian Lives. Now before the video starts, I did want to say this is the first video I'm uploading since I've hit 1,000 subscribers. Surreal to me that I've hit 1,000. Was not expecting this at all. I did this for fun and I was happy when I hit 20 subscribers, so to hit 1,000 is just ridiculous to me, so I do appreciate that. And also, sorry if you hear fireworks. I'm filming this the night before the 4th of July, so a lot of fireworks happening, so you're gonna hear them. But I noticed that you guys enjoyed the Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers video. I thought I would do kind of the same concept, the same formula, where I go over a movie that really affected me in a certain way, that was really on its own, that really stands out, that I want more people to watch. Have you guys ever seen a horror movie where while you're watching it, you're like, this feels like I'm not supposed to be watching it? Like, it gives you that creepy vibe that you're in the wrong place. You're not supposed to be watching this thing and you just feel wrong. Today, I'm going to be talking about one of those movies that does that very thing to me, and it's absolutely one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Probably top 5 for sure. And I've talked about it several times on the channel, and I think it's time that it gets its own video. Of course, I'm talking about Maniac 1980. Starring Joe Spinell. Now, this movie was a movie that I saw the poster art for it countless times when I was getting into horror big time. Then I heard some people talking about it, and I went into it expecting a slasher film. A movie about kids getting killed by this maniac is what I really was expecting. And what I got treated to was very different, and it's a movie that has stuck into my mind ever since the first time I saw it. You follow Frank, who is a serial killer, who, right off the bat, you suspect that there's something wrong with him. He's not okay, he's not well, because he's breathing really heavy, and he's whispering to himself, talking to himself, and the movie opens up with a double kill, where he kills these two people on the beach. Very uneasy, because you immediately, as soon as you start up the movie, you hear his breathing, which is littered throughout the whole entire movie and makes it very uneasy. You know, everyone is raving about In a Violent Nature, but Maniac kind of did the concept of In a Violent Nature before In a Violent Nature did. This movie is basically in the perspective of Frank, the serial killer, and it's not in behind POV the whole time, but it kind of feels like you're in his mind, because you're with him when he gets his episodes, when he's breaking down. And it's very raw and realistic and like crazy. It's just crazy, and it's filthy, which is why I titled the video that, because it makes you want to take a shower after you watch it. It's one of those movies that are so gritty and grimy and greasy feeling that you just like, you get layers of oils on your skin just watching it. It is such a weird experience. But to elaborate more on the plot, basically, you follow him as he kills these random people, and what he does is he cuts their scalp off and puts them on mannequins. That's like the big gimmick that he does in this movie, and it's very creepy and uneasy, and this movie is extremely well made. It has great gore effects. It's brilliantly directed. You have this nasty, gritty New York scene. I love horror movies that take place in New York, movies like Basket Case, which are just in New York, but it just feels so filthy and gritty, like where in New York it's taking place. It's always nighttime. There's always greasy looking dudes walking around, and this movie definitely has that similar vibe where he's walking around, he picks up these hookers. This is toward the beginning, so it's not really a spoiler. And he kills this hooker in one of the most weird scenes ever. And it goes on for too long, but it's a good thing that it goes on for that long, because it really makes you feel super uncomfortable. You know that it's coming, right? That he's about to kill this girl. And when he does, it shows his face and he's just sweaty and angry. And Joe Spinell, his performance in this movie is probably the best horror performance I've ever seen. It's amazing acting. It's sad that we lost him so early, not too soon after this movie released, which I might talk about more later, but he for sure knocked it out of the park. He plays such a creepy, unnerving dude. Even like the build of his body is just creepy to me. It's like as soon as you see him on screen, you're like, oh my god, this guy is He's crazy. And he really sells the performance. Later in the movie, you get introduced to this new character who's a photographer who took a picture of him early on. I won't say too much, but great performance from her as well. The name slips me right now, but great performance from her. I mean, there's really not many main characters in this movie. It's just Frank and then the photographer lady. Once you start to get to know one of the stranger people, they get killed off. You even get Tom Savini in here, which one of the best kill scenes ever. It is brutal. It comes out of nowhere. Well, not really, because it's very slow coming up to the kill. I'm not going to spoil the kill because I want you guys to be shocked when you see it, but it's amazing. Tom Savini's hilarious in here. He's like this hornball who's trying to get this girl in the car, trying to have sex with her. It's very funny. You also get this kill on the subway station. One of the most intense scenes I've ever seen in a horror movie. I can't put my finger on what really makes it that intense, but it's a long scene. It feels like it's like a 30-minute scene, but it's probably like 10 minutes long, where this girl is getting chased by Frank in the subway station. And it just takes forever, but again, it's a good thing for the movie. This movie's slow, but it's actually an advantage for this movie because the tension is so high. These fireworks are driving me nuts. And it's the way that this subway scene follows the girl is also really creepy because you can tell that she's like actually scared. Like she's breathing and they show it all on the camera. And it's crazy. And again, it drags on for such a long time, but it's one of the most, like, I'm like this when I see that. I'm like, oh my God. And I know what's happening because I've already seen it before. But that's one of very few scenes in movies that get me that tense. Hereditary is the only other movie that I can think that has done that to me. It's a scene where the guy wakes up in the morning and the mom finds the daughter in the car. Dude, that scene gets me every time. I'm just like, oh my God. Also, the score in Maniac. I don't talk about scores too often, but the score for Maniac is awesome. It sounds very classic horror with the ding, 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 ding. You know that, but it's beautifully, can't say that damn word, crafted. There's times where I literally listen to the soundtrack outside of the movie. There's not movies that I do that to, where I just play the soundtrack. I'm not one of those people. But anyways, this movie is incredible. It brings amazing kill scenes. The ending is weird. I'm not going to talk about the ending because I want you guys to experience, but it's very weird. It's very surprisingly metaphorical, which I was not expecting for an ending. I was not expecting the movie to go in that direction because it's not super straightforward leading up to that ending, but it's not extremely weird either. The ending to this movie is really artsy and different, and again, metaphorical. You really have to kind of piece the clues together on what's going on and if it's really happening or if it's just Frank freaking out. But anyways, Maniac 1980 is one of the greatest horror movies in my eyes. Joe Spinell was actually working on the official sequel. I say official because there's a movie called The Last Horror Movie, or Last Horror Film, I think is what it's called. That has the same two actors in it, Joe Spinell and then the photograph girl. They both returned, but it wasn't an actual sequel to Maniac. It also feels like a Maniac movie where this guy, he wants to be an actor, so I don't remember it completely because that movie isn't amazing. But he tries to kill this actress, I think. It was something like that. Severin, I think, put out a Blu-ray release that called it Maniac 2, unofficially, because it's not officially Maniac 2. Anyways, I'm rambling. Joe Spinell was working on an actual Maniac 2 before he passed away. Something happened to him. I think he had an asthma attack in the shower or something, and he fell through the glass door on the shower and cut his hand, and he bled out or something. It was very traumatic how Joe Spinell passed away. And again, it happened not too soon after Maniac. Of course, some people might know that Maniac got a remake where Elijah Wood actually replaces Joe Spinell. It's actually one of the better remakes I've ever seen, but it doesn't top the original by any means. They make that one more of like the POV, you're the killer. They make it more like that than the original one does, which is an interesting change, and it's fun, and it was really well made, and again, really well crafted and acted. But The original 1980 Maniac, I needed to make a video on how gritty and gross that movie feels. It gives me a mood and a feeling that no other movie has ever given me, like ever. It is so gross. It's just, that's the best word to describe it. It's gross in a good way. Like, I feel like I'm not supposed to be watching it, but then I rewatch this movie all the time. Calling it a comfort movie is gonna make me sound like a maniac, but it's kind of a comfort movie to me at this point, just because of how mesmeric it is. Like, I just get hypnotized almost into what's happening on my screen. It's such a damn good horror movie that not enough people talk about. This should be not even just, like, I feel like right now it's just in like the people who like old horror. It's in their sphere. But like, I feel like if you don't deep dive into old horror, you might not know about Maniac. You might have never seen Maniac, which you're missing out on so much. Do me a favor and watch Maniac, the original one. You can watch the remake one too afterwards, because it is a good remake, but the original one is one of the greatest horror films ever made. Thanks again for 1,000 subscribers. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video where I talked about one of my favorite movies, Maniac. Please subscribe and turn on that bell. Follow my Instagram at IanLives_. Follow my Letterboxd at wehateian. And I do love you guys. Let me know your thoughts on Maniac down below.